Welcome to Laser Focus, where I discuss all things laser cutting and engraving. In this series, I'm working through making beginner projects with each material that came in the xTool F1 sample materials pack. If you want to see an unpacking and rundown of all the materials in the pack, I've got a video of that linked in the description. Today, I'll be turning these PU leather patches, which came in my sample kit, into fully assembled, sleek and vibrant Christmas tree ornaments. They engrave from black to silver and give this really striking contrast. I ended up also making a slightly more advanced version that's a bit more festive. So watch till the end to see how that turned out. Okay, let's get started. We're going to start off by importing the design and setting up the engrave. I've already downloaded the free file and I'm going to leave a link in the description so you can get it if you want. So here I've got xTool Studio open and I'm just clicking new project here and then I'm dragging the SVG version of the file onto the canvas. I'm going to tell it to keep size here because it's sized perfectly for the xTool F1 cutting area. Now start by ungrouping the design. These instructions here are just to tell us that we're cutting the red outline and engraving the black part. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. Now I'm just selecting both of these pieces and moving the whole design into the cutting area. I'm just going to double check the size of everything. You can see that this backing piece here falls within the 4-inch limit of the cutting area for the xTool F1. At its longest, it's 3.85 inches, so we're all good here. We also know the patch is 2.95 inches by 2.95 inches, so the reindeer design is small enough to fit on the PU leather patch that came in the sample kit. Now I'm just going to separate these out onto different canvases since we're cutting and engraving on different materials. I'll be cutting the backing out of wood and I'll be engraving the reindeer design on the leather patch. So I'm just putting each part on its own canvas and centering the designs on the canvas. Now I'm going up here to select my material. Right now it's on unknown material, and if I click it, I can find and select the black PU leather patch from the material settings library. So I'm just searching for it here and we have a whole bunch of different options to choose from. We know we have black to silver and we know it's round. This is not an iron-on patch, but it's the only option that's in here and I can confirm that it actually doesn't matter. So select the black and silver iron-on patch and then click apply. So let's just check all of our settings. We're on engrave, we're outputting, we want to have the blue light laser selected. That is the correct laser to be using for this engrave. And it's on 90% power, 900 millimeters per second speed, one pass, 120 lines per centimeter, and engraving mode is set to bidirectional. So now we're ready to engrave the reindeer design on the leather patch, which we're going to do in the next step. Okay, I'm placing the PU leather patch onto the base plate here and then selecting the framing option so that I can make sure everything is nicely centered. So here at the machine, I'm just centering the patch as best as I can in the center of the frame. And of course, safety glasses for some extra protection. And now I'm back in Studio, I'm clicking process, and we can see that it's only going to take about 35 seconds. Now I'm ready to click start in Studio and then also press the start button on the machine and off we go. This patch engraved really quickly, just under 40 seconds. And here it is. I think the contrast looks amazing. I love these patches. Next, I'm going to cut the ornament backing out of wood. So we're back in xTool Studio, this time on the canvas that has the backing piece on it. Now, I bought a bunch of wooden squares off of Amazon for fairly cheap, and I'm going to be using one of those. I'll leave a link in the description. I've already cut on this wood tons of times, so I have the settings programmed in here for them. It's set to use the blue light laser, 90% power, 3 millimeters per second speed, and one pass. And now I'm getting things set up at the machine. Here's the square I'll be cutting, and I'm just placing it on the base plate. And then back in Studio, just clicking the framing button, and now I'll center the framing on the wooden square at the machine. Now I'm just putting this down, and back at the computer, I'm clicking process, and this one is going to take just under 2 minutes. So I'm clicking start here in Studio, and then start on the machine, and there it goes. This cut will go quite a bit slower, but it still doesn't take very long. And here we have it, perfectly cut. Now I decided to make an ornament backing out of leather as well, just for fun. I just wanted an option where I could get a bit more creative and colorful with the backing, and I love working with leather. I'm going to speed through this one since I'm repeating the exact same thing, just with a different material. This is a vegetable tanned leather that I work with a lot, and it cuts really well with the xTool F1. You'll get a peek at what I did with it later in the video, but I've made a separate video showing how I did it step by step. I'll link to that below. In this video, I'll be focusing on finishing the wooden backing, which I'll paint in this next step. Okay, so let's just take a closer look at all of our pieces so far. Here's our engraved leather patch. You can see how nicely the design came out against the black. It has a really cool metallic effect effect. I'm not sure how well you can see it on camera. And then here we have the wooden backing piece. We do have some char along the outside, but since I'm going to be painting over it, this isn't really a big deal. And then finally, the leather backing piece that I just cut. Now it's time to paint the wood backing. I'm going to keep things fairly simple with this one and just paint it a nice silver color. To get the shade I wanted, I mixed these two colors together, but you can use any acrylic paint that you have on hand. The ones I used are fairly cheap. I think I got them at Walmart. And I just used this paint tray to mix them together, and then here I'm applying the first of 2 coats. After the first coat, I waited 1 full hour for the paint to dry, and now I'm putting a second coat on here. And I also painted the edges with this thinner brush. And then I gave it 24 hours to fully dry before the next step. And now it's time to mount the leather patch onto the wood backing. So I just peeled off the back, and then I'm carefully centering it here and then pressing down. I used a brayer over an index card to really get full contact so it's nice and secure. Next, I just used this black leather cord to string the ornament. There's nothing fancy happening here, it's just a simple knot. If you want a fancier string option, I quickly made this braid out of Christmassy colors and used it to string one of the leather ornaments, so there's another easy option there. It looks just a little bit more festive. And we're all done. And here we have our final ornaments. Here's the PU leather patch ornament with the wooden silver backing. This looks really elegant. I also made these leather backed ones, which I think are a little bit more fun and vibrant. They were super fun to make as well. If you want to see how I finished the leather for this one, see the description for a link to the video with the detailed process. I hope I see you there.